Well, hello and welcome everyone to a new episode of Tawheed and the Spiritual Unity of the Three Principles. Today I have a really special guest with me, Dr. Mark Howard. I'm really excited to have him with me. And The last time I actually met Dr. Howard was in the 3P UK conference back in 2019, and it was such a joy to share that space with him and get to know him personally and spend some time with him. And I'm really excited for him to accept my invitation for this conversation today. Today's topic, which was actually chosen by Dr. Howard, is discovering our true nature, happiness, love, and understanding. And I think most of you know who Dr. Mark Howard is, but for those of you who doesn't know who Dr. Mark Howard is, Mark is a licensed psychologist since 1980. And in 1982, he was blessed to be introduced to Sydney Banks. He had an insight about the three principles of mind, thought, and consciousness, where he saw that it is through these principles that all people create their emotions. And since then, I think Mark started sharing this with his clients and in his practice. He has trained more three principles practitioners than anyone in the world. He has brought his expertise in teaching the principles to mental health professionals, practitioners at a major medical center where he mentored 8 psychologists for 2 years, to hundreds of health practitioners in many diverse fields in Santa Clara County for 18 years, and to many practitioners in North America, United Kingdom, and Europe. Many of these practitioners went on to develop their own successful Three Principles program. I also saw that you're the founder of Three Principles Institute, right, Mark?
That's right.
Yeah, and
Yes.
you give like one-on-one coaching, and you share this understanding with all individuals, including practitioners, coaches, and mental health professionals.
Yeah, now I do one-to-one coaching, but I'm also mentoring a lot of people who want to share these principles in their work. So I've done a lot of mentorship over the last 2 years, which has been really lovely to get, people who have had some sense of this understanding and get their voice out there in the world, because we really need it in our world. So I really want to support anyone that wants to share it in any, in any way they think is useful for them. I want to support their sharing it. So I've been mentoring a lot of people to gain the confidence and certainty, to keep their voice going.
Right.
So
And
it's really great. It's great to be here with you.
me too. I'm really excited.
Like it's been the world and us have been through a lot since you and I met in 2019, and
Yeah, and I
we
moved back to actually my home country, Morocco. So I'm actually speaking with you from Casablanca. I don't know if you've ever
wow,
been here, but yeah,
that's
I'm here
cool.
at the moment. Yeah, good to have you, Mark.
Well, it's really wonderful to be here and nice seeing all of you. And you know, Omar, I have something to share with everyone, but I really do like to keep the meeting with me interactive. So I would really love to hear from people at some point, whether they've got questions or something they want to share.
Oh,
Uh, I'd be glad to um, I'd be glad to like talk with other people, really encourage people to ask me anything that might be on their minds about this understanding.
right. I mean, this is actually what we are about here on Tawheed, and in this show we make it. We are not the expert here, but we open it up for everyone to kind of share if they have any insights or any questions. So it's like a
Yeah.
group discussion kind of thing.
So should we get started?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I was just so thrilled when Omar reached out to me and invited me on this program because I'd been really realizing a lot about this sense of happiness. And it came about from listening to an audio by Sydney Banks. I walk a lot every day to just do some exercise, and I always listen to Sydney Banks recordings. And this this one recording, he shared something about happiness that just stopped me in my tracks, that was so profound for me. It just really hit me at a deep level. And what he shared was something like this. He said the most unnatural state of for a human being is being unhappy or unhappiness. And I thought, wow, is that profound? Isn't it profound that the most unnatural state um, for any of us is unhappiness? We're not meant to live there. And it really hit me. And I kind of opened up to, see what might occur to me around understanding that deeper. Um, and so I wanted to share today some of the realizations that have occurred to me about this. That's why the title was Happiness, Love, and Understanding. And what I've seen is really that like we're meant to live in happiness. We're meant to live within that state of mind. That's our purpose. And to kind of use another time, Sid said something about this. The only thing in the way, he would say, is our silly beliefs. That's the only thing in the way of you and I being deeply in happiness right now. And he didn't downplay or wasn't judgmental about our beliefs, which really is our thoughts, right? He just wanted us to not see them so seriously. The thinking we do, like, how much we think about ourselves, how much we evaluate ourselves, how much we live in comparisons or in judgments about ourselves or in regret about how we've been or all of that. And that's what he meant. That's the only thing in the way of us being in the natural state, the state we're meant to live in, is we take all of this thinking about ourselves or about life seriously. And of course, as you know, as you engage that and take it seriously, you're living in it. That looks true to you. So this really woke up a deeper sense that I am meant to be happy. That's my natural state. Coming into life, that's the state I was coming into life in, this consciousness that has these beautiful feelings. And again, I started to reflect on, again, the profound point that the only thing in the way of your beautiful feelings and living in them are your thoughts, your habits of thought. Greed, envy, even excitement. Even excitement is a way of thinking that takes you away from the deeper feelings that really bring you peace and calm and so forth. So that's what started to occur to me at a level where I just kind of saw it more clearly, that in a way that I can begin to notice even sooner when I'm caught up in my habits of thinking about myself. And I'm human in the human condition, so I'm victim to that. I try to develop programs to offer coaches and other practitioners. And, whenever I see my good friend Michael Neal, who is creating everything, come out with something new, I get a tinge of envy, And before, when I would see that with my colleagues, I would fester in that. I would be in that being critical of myself. Why aren't I creating at that level? What am I, lazy? And I just realized that that wasn't helpful. That was keeping me away from my true nature. We're calling it happiness. We're calling it the beautiful feelings of love and understanding. But within that state is wisdom, is the guidance from the intelligence of mind to guide you your way. And again, that's beautiful because it freed me from Mark Howard thinking I had to be another way because I was comparing myself to somebody else. And the comparison was fooling me. It was making me feel bad about myself. But I had failed to really realize that I have my own way. And if I quieted down my self-judgments and self-evaluations, I'd drop into these beautiful feelings and I would really hear something that's right for me. Like it wasn't right for me to develop programs. It just wasn't my thing. But it was this understanding of the nature of thought and realizing that these habits of thought I had about myself were not what to follow. That there was a deeper guidance. If I could just drop into just being happy. Another thing that was profound in my listening to Sydney Banks throughout all these years, you may see this as well if you're listening to any of his video programs like the Hawaii lectures or the Long Beach lectures. You can tell by listening to him that your intellect can't grasp really what he's speaking to, but you could get a feeling for it. You could get a sense of something along the way as you're watching those videos, something kind of rings in you, rings true in you, or you just settle down, or you just somehow come to peace as you're listening to him. But I always loved that he would eventually say at the seminars, it's just love and understanding. And that helped me. See, because I knew I could point to love and understanding. And I realized when he said that, the first time I heard that what I was looking for is simple. See, I used to think it was kind of an elaborate, I had to do elaborate things to find the well-being I was looking for. But when he said, it's just love and understanding, it helped me see that it's just simple. Really, it's moving in that direction and honoring that, trusting that that's true. having faith that love and understanding is all that you want to point yourself toward. And as I continue to move in that direction, my mind started to settle down. I started to quiet down. And when I dropped into love and understanding, I felt closer, closer to life. I felt closer to my wife, my son. It moved me away from, the way that my habits were to kind of evaluate people in my life, or get bothered by the people in my life. This took me to kind of a deeper level where I really understood they were really the same as me. And they were using thought their way. That's why they were different than I was. That understanding allowed me to become closer to my colleagues at work and my friends and have a lot of compassion. Now, it wasn't that I practiced compassion. Compassion is just a label I put on understanding, seeing deeply that every human being is the same energy, living from the quality of their thinking in that moment. When you really understand that, you act in ways people call compassion. But really, it's a feeling. You don't think of yourself as compassionate. You just have dropped into seeing everyone free of judgments. When you see everyone free of judgments, you see everyone as you. You just understand them and you're close to them. And you can see they're just, we used to call innocent. They're just doing life the way we're meant to do life, through the way we have used the power of thought. So I'll give you a story that was really dramatic. I shared it before on other webinars, but looking back to the topic of happiness, a real life story. I was in this medical center for 28 years, and I was in their psychiatry department, and I was sharing the principles to the people that came to me for help. And this woman came who was around 85 years old, and she had heard of the principles and wanted to see if the principles can bring her to happiness, because she'd been in depression for a long time. And she said to me something exactly like, I have a few years left. I'm healthy, but I'm 85, so I know I've got, a number of years left in life, and I like to spend them happy. And I heard of the principles. Do you think that would help me? So I said, well, let's talk. Let's see. So we had about 6 meetings together. And I noticed in the 6th meeting, it really wasn't going anywhere. It just dawned on me, somehow she's not looking at this. And I got reactive in a moment, and I just said, well, look, Mabel, are you ever happy? And it hit her, and she said, well, yeah, I am. And then that puzzled me. I said, you are? Because she hadn't spoken one word of any time in the 6 sessions we had that she was happy. So I said, well, when is that? And she said, well, it's when I wake up in the morning, I'm happy. So then I said, well, what happens to it? Here's what she said. She said, by the time my feet hit the slippers, I remember I'm depressed. Boom. She just saw it. She said right after that, it just like the light went on. She said to me, you mean I just think I'm depressed, and so I'm depressed? I said, yeah, she saw it deeply. The only thing taking her away from happiness was her silly beliefs, her ways of thinking about herself. Now, when she remembered she was depressed, in that thinking came everything that supported her feeling depressed. She had thoughts of, my friends don't call me anymore. I don't get along with my daughter. I wasn't good to my husband. All of those thoughts came into her world of, I'm a depressed person. And it really meant it looked real to her, given all that thinking. But the minute she saw, I remember I'm depressed. You mean I just think I'm depressed? In that moment, that left. We started to look at thought. We started to look at that's all that's been happening. She's saying, you mean I don't have chemically imbalanced area? I said, no, it's just what you just saw. You just think you're depressed, and then you are. And that was it. And in the moment of our session, she started to find humor, and we started to have a laugh about it. And she started to share some of the crazy ways she acted because she thought she was depressed, but at a different level. So she was able to sustain that. She was able to, when she kind of got caught up in that habit of thought, she was able to point herself back toward the feeling of happiness. So then in those feelings is the wisdom. So she got ways to get back in a good relationship with her daughter. She realized that her friends probably got tired of all of her negativity, so she could understand them. And then from there, started to reach out to her friends. Also, she was given memories where she was a good wife. She, she did do good by her husband. It wasn't all bad. So that's just it's a true story. It's about all of us, how when we see that we've been innocently, without knowing it, caught up in a way of thinking about ourselves that's locked us in a way that has us move away from our true nature to what is unnatural. See, going back to what Sid said, unnatural. It's part of the human condition because we can't avoid growing up in our world not having learned habits of thought that get us to feel unhappy, like self-judgments and being self-critical or measuring ourselves or thinking about how we're doing. But you just want to understand that and give yourself a lot of kindness and see that that thinking is nothing for you because you are truly your true nature is happiness, love, and understanding. And in that realm of that consciousness, when you live in that, you get wisdom. Wisdom lives there. Wisdom about finding a way to deal with your life does not exist in your seriousness. It does not exist looking at your situation with dread or with thinking of yourself limited in some way. I learned that. I learned to think about myself I remember, as I've talked about this over the last year, it came to mind for me how I learned it. I remember in first grade of our school system, in the first grade, our teacher was teaching math. And she put everybody's names up on this paper that was up on the bulletin board, all our names. And there was a pin with everybody, you know, on the side of everybody's name. And their progress in math scores was moved from low to high. So, of course, not everybody's at the same level of math. So you start to think of yourself, compared yourself to the people ahead of you. I started to learn comparison. I started to learn feeling bad about myself because I was in the middle of the bunch on math. Now I never felt bad about myself around math. I don't remember this now, but I mean, as I had the memory of this, I saw how you know, I saw how that affected me. So all I'm saying with that is we learn. That's all. You just want to see you learned to think so seriously about yourself. And that is being in your way to live in these beautiful feelings. So one more thing I want to share with you before I just check in, okay? In the beginning for me, it was around 1980 in San Francisco, California. And George and Linda Pransky lived close to me. And they had spent already at that time about 4 years with Sid Banks. So I knew them. And I started to meet with them once a week. And we would just talk about this understanding. Well, one Tuesday morning when we were meeting, I was sitting in George Pransky's living room, and there was this large picture window in front of us, and we could see the mountain ranges that were beyond that was the Pacific Ocean. And we could see all of the beautiful landscape up to those mountain ranges. And George turned to me and he said, "You know, Mark, if we could lessen our thinking this much, just this much, that life would fill us." So I just wanted to point today with the possibility and potential that we are meant to live in a natural state of happiness, love, and understanding. And so if you hold that, if that rings true for you, just keep nurturing that. Keep pointing yourself back to that. That will start to grow. Well, Omar, I talked a lot, and I wanted to check in with you, but also with the people here and see if I could answer any questions or, you know, kind of hear what they're seeing and kind of share with them.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I think we were all fully absorbed in what you were sharing with us, Mark. It's just amazing to just listen to, you know. And I love the story you shared about the patient that you had with like, sixth session, and she wasn't sharing anything, and then all of a sudden she told you that, yeah, she felt that happiness, and then it's gone once she put her foot on the floor in the morning. You know, one of the things that that I remembered, you know, you sharing that story is one of the one of my clients that I've worked with. about 2-3 years ago. And I really felt that, like the same thing you were feeling, that frustration, like, but she wasn't getting it. Am I even a, like, good coach or whatever? And I still remember, like asking her, because like she was exactly like, the client you had. She wasn't speaking much. She was just, listening, and I was just, like sharing with her, um, about this understanding. She was new to this understanding. And I remember, I think the third session, I asked her, like, if she's finding our time valuable. She never told me anything like happening with her. She didn't tell me, like, in my head, like, maybe nothing has changed with her. But she told me, well, um, last session, when we finished, I had a stroll in the park, and then all of a sudden, I saw uh, the suffering that I gathered throughout time, um, because I hated my mom so much. And after that conversation, I felt love for her that I've lost since I don't even remember the last time I felt that love for, especially for my mom. And I was really shocked because I didn't expect that. I didn't see this
Yeah,
coming. But it really made me, like, it made me cry in that
sure.
moment, not because I was like, yes, like I maybe contributed in this or whatever, but because the way she shared it, and like I could really see that she was, um she really saw something. And so, after that, bit by bit, she started really seeing that in other areas of her life. And till now, we're still in touch. And she's not like in the 3P community or anything like that, but she's just enjoying her life, like enjoying the simplest things in life. Because when we worked together, she was really depressed, you
Mhm.
know. But yeah, it's just amazing how it could happen to people that you could not even, you know, realize or see. And actually, this is one of the things that happened to me even the first time I shared this with someone, with the intention to help them. And I was only 3 months into this understanding. So basically, it was around March 2017, and I came across this understanding in June, like the end of June. So I was only 2-3 months into this understanding, and I really had, like a glimpse of. I had like the privilege to be introduced to this understanding through Keith. He came and taught a 3 days intensive, um, with my friend Mamoon Youssef. I don't know if you know of him, but that lady, when I met her, and we met actually randomly in the park. I know, like, some of you know this story because I shared it many times, but I will just share the short version of it. So this lady was going to this, park in London called Holland Park, and I was going there, but I got lost. And then I asked her, she was going there, so we went together, and we started having a chat. And then, like I told her I was studying psychology back then, and I was into coaching, and she told me she teaches math in Greenwich University, and she writes like academical journals, etc. Anyways, after a while, she starts opening up and sharing with me like how some really disturbing stuff that happened with her, like being raped and sexually assaulted, and some really really horrible stuff. And when I met her, she was bipolar. And so I really felt for her. Now, like, I never shared this understanding with anybody apart from my two friends, good friends. And I, even gave them CDs of Sydney Banks, like, listen to this, like, gotta listen to this. This is amazing. And what occurred to me to share with her is just, what I saw really, but also something that she told me afterward. I asked her if she ever thought to forgive this guy. And like, I did a podcast with her about 2 years ago, and she told me, I never took you seriously until you asked me that question. And then I was like, you had my full attention. So I shared with her about thought and how we experience life, and that's like, our feelings come from thoughts, and they're not coming from what we think they are coming from. Anyway, she starts relaxing while I'm sharing this, and I'm really sharing about this passionately. Like, I was into this understanding for years, but I was I just came across the understanding. And then like, she left, and she told me, well, thank you, that's like, it's been really great to meet you, and we exchanged numbers. And after a week she texted me, Omar, I have to tell you this. After our conversation, I felt so happy. Like, the following days, I felt so happy. I haven't felt this way since long time. My heart is so open. I want to spend Easter with my family in Italy. I want to go and speak with my priest in our church. Church, thank you very much. You're a good coach, and you should be doing this in parks, etc. And I was so, what's happening in here? It was all new for me. Like, what did she see? And I was trying to find, what did I say, so I could maybe say this again, and it's gonna work, like kind of a magic phrase that I could repeat over and over again, and give like, there you go, you have an insight, and you have an insight. That was silly of me to think that, but since then, Mark, she, like, we stayed in touch, and like, we still talking, and she's been doing great. And she was on meds when we met, and she wanted to have a child, and then she had a child, and they wanted to take the baby from her, because they thought she's still sick. And then she went to the psychiatrist, and he spoke with her, and he was really, like, he didn't know what happened with her. But basically, he stopped giving her meds. So she's completely fine now. Like, she's just enjoying her life. And I still, like, she really heard something so deep that the ripple effects of that insight is still growing and growing. Yeah, that was like something big for me, because this is what actually made me kind of, like, take this path and follow only that. And that was like the beginning of my journey, really, into the three principles. But yeah, Mark, yeah, thank you. I think I spoke too much as well. Maybe we can open it up for questions.
Well, that was beautiful, Omar.
Yeah,
You
thank you.
know, when you talk, isn't it something that that it's a possibility for any human being to wake up beyond and live beyond uh, their conditioned ways, to live beyond the way that they've been thinking about life their whole lives. I mean, that's really one of the beautiful things, that we're not fixed. We're not fixed we really aren't a personality. Because if you have an insight to the degree that your two clients talk about, you're a different person. I mean, you're still you and so forth, but you're looking at life way beyond the insecure thinking that you've lived in for many, many years. And isn't that just hopeful? I mean, that's the beautiful thing for me, is that it's just so hopeful that we can gain knowledge. We call it like insights or realizations that take us beyond our usual ideas about how life works and how we should be in life, to something that brings us closer to love and understanding, and and peace, and gives us the wisdom to begin to live more in the direction of happiness and well-being.
Mm.
When I was trained, now I was trained traditionally as a psychologist. Now this is like over 42 years ago now, but we didn't really expect people to have this quality of an insight, And if you were practicing Freudian therapy in those days, you wouldn't expect anyone to have an insight or realization for a year or more, and it would only be about their own thinking. And when I was with Sid and had my own insight, I realized, oh my goodness, what's available to all of us is so hopeful and so beyond what I imagined. And so when it comes up from people, and for me, all of my clients, it just touches me deeply when they share from that understanding, like your clients did. And they share, you could feel it, and it just touches you, and brings tears to my eyes around what beautiful, uh, what a beautiful state of mind showed up. So, but anybody, I know I just got a chat from someone who just wants to listen, and that's okay. That's fine.
That was Joe.
And-
Yeah, I think I got a message.
But if anybody has a question or something you'd like to share, I'd love to hear it.
Jerry, hi.
Hey, Mark. Hi,
Hey,
Omar.
Jerry.
It seems like the biggest challenge is getting people past the labels that's been put on them. Like you mentioned, the one said, oh, she didn't have a chemical imbalance. And it's stuff they've heard and what they think. Is it, just as simple as trying to tell them story after story until it clicks, or, um, we see it, but they don't see it that way, that it's just their thinking. It's a
Well,
label.
yeah, yeah. Well, the first piece that helps, of course, is us knowing that when we're with them, us truly knowing they aren't this label. And you can offer that, you could offer that. You could, as I have with people, sharing with them, like, you keep looking at yourself with this diagnosis. But I really like to find a way for us to talk where you could see you're much more than this. Really, the label is only a way to describe you when you're in your most troubled state. But how can we talk about it? Because I'd like you to really begin to see you're more than a label. So I'll talk to them that way and start to help introduce that. But the power of that, Jerry, and the feeling they get is you knowing that's true. And sometimes you just sitting knowing that that's true, in the feeling of that as you're talking, people will start to talk about themselves differently. The power of us sitting in the depth of understanding is felt, not consciously in the intellect, but it's felt. Why? Because both of you are mind. So if you're sitting in a deep spiritual energy of this knowing, that's a way of describing it, it will flow. But Jerry, don't hesitate to find your way to, give people the understanding that they're more than this label, and how can you and that person talk about it so they could see it for themselves.
Exactly. I've noticed it seems like the more you listen and not say anything, the better off you are. And a lot of times.
Well, Jerry, yes. And you know, the thing about it is there's a power in listening. And in that you know, I've always followed, although it's not happening today because I'm talking a lot, but you want to listen more than you teach. It just those just words for it. Because the listening, it you're guided to know what to share rather than Jerry or Mark thinking about what this person needs. If you listen, you'll get something deeper, a deeper guidance to know what to share. But yeah, listening is really to me the hallmark of our work. And the listening rests on the truth that your work will be guided by the intelligence of mind. So if you could listen without your own personal thinking, you'll see what to share. But again, you know, if you notice something around your clients, you notice something, and you know, it feels like that would be valuable to share. I talk to them about it. Like with this woman, Hazel, or Mabel, it's a made up name. So, you know, I'm just making up name. That was in my first couple of years. Now I would probably ask her about, you know, this, like what Omar said, you know, is this, is it, you know, are you getting anything from our work? Is it helpful to you? Or I might say, you know, I noticed that we keep talking about, let's say, the nature of thought. It doesn't seem like that you're getting anything. So I started to feel more comfortable uh, sharing with clients what I noticed. And Jerry, this would be a beautiful thing to share if it feels right. If your listening dictates to you, it's a time to do that. To help people start to live beyond their label. Like I was in this inpatient psychiatry department through COVID. I was asked to help out. And these were people really wedded to thinking about themselves as their label. And again, you know, I had this person, he were hospitalized because they're really in what was called major depression. I mean, it interfered with their functioning. And so he would sit and talk to me about his guilt. That's what was creating the depression. And he would list all the things he was guilty for. Well, I listened, but finally I asked him to stop. And I helped with, I pointed out to him, you know, you are not this. You are in what's called depression because you keep engaging all these thoughts about yourself. But you are more than that. And I want you to start looking there. How can you and I talk where you start to see you're not all of these descriptions you gave about you and your life? You see? So that started our work together. I don't want people to keep looking at themselves from a label, Jerry. And the minute I find a way that I could help them see that, I want to start to just open a dialogue about it. All I'm doing is opening up a dialogue. I'm not forcing them to look any way. And if they don't want to look that way, I say, okay, well, what would get in your way of looking that way? You know. Now they're in a psychiatric hospital, so everybody there is responding to them as their label. But I help them with that too, because as they start, you know, some people are there for a month in a psychiatric hospital. But if I have that much time with them, they start to get better. And the nurses start to see it and ask about it. Anyhow, those are just things, they're not about me. They're just examples of feeling comfortable to help people know they're not their label. So, Jerry, thank you so much.
Thank you, Mark.
Anybody else have any question?
Thank you, Jerry.
I mean, we have
Yeah, I
simple
can
ones.
say
Oh,
something.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
Karen?
Yes. I have something to say. I'll find the words. I've had a lot of pains. 1.5 years ago, I fell down on my bike and hurt my back. And I broke one of my, what's they called, vertebrae in
Yeah.
the spine. And it took some time, but when it should have been healed, I kept on having pains. Shortly after I fell down, I met this understanding, and I was very uplifted and very happy, and thought, "Wow, this is so true," and it made me very happy. But then the pain came and came, and I thought, "Oh, it must help me with my pain," but it didn't, or I didn't know how to use it, and I got a little angry, and I got a little bitter, and I sort of turned a little bit away, and I got afraid that if I met somebody, they would say, "There's something you're doing wrong."
Yeah.
So I got ashamed and embarrassed, and it blocked me. So for a time, I sort of didn't stop listening to the videos. But then I missed it. And I came back and I thought, well, this is a message for me, this pains. But I didn't understand the message. And then more pains came. I got a nerve in my cheek, and it came into my nose, and it came, and I got a cold, a nerve that sort of felt like unisolated, very, very sensitive, and then it came into my mouth, and I got the diagnosis trichomoniasis, one of the face nerves, and this was terribly painful. And I went and I prayed. Oh, what to do this? I can't stand it. And I went to the doctor, and I was lucky to get in without his waiting list. And it took 4 days, and it disappeared.
Oh.
And I was, wow, is that a miracle? He gave me some medicine, but it has hardly had the time to work. So I thought, well, something that would worry me that so much could disappear, and really disappear, no pain at all. Usually when I got up in the morning, I took some cold water in my face, and then it came all, and I did, and there was no pain. I couldn't understand it. So as soon as that disappeared, I fell down and broke my ankle. And I go now with a big boot on. But it doesn't trouble me as much, because, I sort of got the confidence that the things will open. I'll understand. There's something very rich, very good for me to learn. And I get more and more glimpses of what something I couldn't see before. or I could only see it in others. For instance, I realized that I'm doing the right things, but it's sort of outside. It's not inside out. It's sort of following rules, not making trouble, but it's not inside out.
Yeah.
And that's an insight for me. I thought this was okay, but it was not. So now there's a possibility for me, yes, just to let it flow in me.
Mhm.
Maybe you have some comments to my story.
Well, Karen, thank you so much for sharing. And you have to be careful going out on the streets, I'm sorry about your bad luck with that. So there's one thing I want to share from your story, because there's a lot you covered there. But I think it's important. And so I just want us to listen together. See, the principles are you. They're given to you to create your knowing of life. They're really given to you so you could see life through thought. You have and consciousness, you have an experience of your life moment to moment. That's what they're there for. I'm speaking like so all they're there for is to allow you to create a knowing of life every moment. So you can know friendship, you can know love, you can know joy. They are not, see, the reason Sid calls them spiritual is because they have no purpose to your outcomes. See, it doesn't matter to the principles whether you get rid of pain or not. The principles have nothing to do with the form of our lives. It allows us to see life, to know life. And as we're talking about today, find our purpose, to live in happiness, love, and understanding. You see? Now, I really want us to hear this. The principles are neutral. They're neutral in that they're formless, so they don't have any opinion about you continuing to have pain, or something's wrong with you that you have pain, or you don't understand the principles well enough because you have pain. They don't have anything to do with that. So there has been a thing in the 3P community where people feel, I don't know if this is why you felt shame, but people feel like, oh, I don't understand the principles well enough because I still have pain in my body. I should be able to live at a level of consciousness where I don't have pain. But that's not the principles. That's not the principles. Now, what you're waking up to, the happiness you found, and the feeling that you missed it, that's the feeling of them. That's the knowing that you, again, gave to yourself. There's something here. I'm missing it. I got to go back. Now, let me tell you a story about this. Sydney Banks died from brain cancer. He was in the hospital, during his final moments. He was in there because the tumor had advanced to where, he was unable to use his legs. Now, I'm assuming this because that's just what I heard. One of the people in his life that was supporting him to be able to get there in the United States rather than Canada, brought to visit him 4 Israeli soldiers who had lost a limb, an arm or a leg. They came in and they were talking with Sid. And they said, Sid, how do you live with brain cancer? He said to them, it's just a nuisance. Can you see that? He wasn't saying, well, you know, I don't understand these principles well enough yet that I could cure myself. You see?
Mm.
Now, what the 4 soldiers took was they could come to peace with their loss of a body, you know, a loss of a limb. They don't have to have their lives dictated by that loss. They realized they could just come to peace and be happy. It's just a nuisance. It's nothing. You see? And I'm just telling you this story because you want to have more of a feeling that the principles give you this power to see life, to know life, to look at it your way, the way that you use thought. That's what Sid said by free will. All of us look at life differently. But they don't have any say about the outcome. So you want to come to peace about the fact that you may still have pain. Doesn't mean anything about your understanding. Now, I see that you found for yourself a way to look about it that's giving you insights, that's helping you see more. Beautiful, beautiful. That was your wisdom. Is there something I could learn here? So I love that you followed that feeling of missing it and came back. Because again, you were touched by something, and it's something to appreciate about yourself, that you knew you wanted to come back to it. But do you see this? Does everybody see this? It's like you really want to get out of this whole idea that your understanding of the principles will you know, take care of a true medical condition. Now, who knows if healing wouldn't take place? I don't know that. But you don't want to burden yourself with, do I have enough understanding? Is there something wrong with my understanding because I still feel pain, or I still have this medical condition? Like, that's kind of, in a way, nonsense. Sid answered it again. Somebody said the same kind of thing. You know, we were at a weekend seminar. Somebody said, well, doesn't the spiritual understanding help me cure my medical ills? And Sid thought for a while, and he said, you know, if you got something wrong with you physically, you need to go see a doctor. Common sense. That's what he means by common sense. So I hope that made sense. You know, I really wanted to point us in that direction, because we get so caught up in, my understanding isn't deep enough. Otherwise, I would feel, you know, I don't know, my stomach condition would feel better or something like that. Now, when you come to peace of mind, when you come to happiness and well-being, you're not suffering as much about your condition, and that helps a great deal. I don't know. I just wanted to offer that to everyone, and I hope that helped.
Yeah.
And
Thank
I
you
know
very much.
thank you, Karen, for sharing so much, and just be careful out there on those sidewalks, you know, and Go easy.
Yeah, yeah. I'm faster now. I go very slowly.
Thank you, Karen.
Omar, what do you think? Anything else or?
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, I mean, before it hits 1 hour, but we went on and on. Shall we take one more question? Do you still have time for that? Or
I
is that
have time. If I have time, I really do.
Yeah, well, I
If
usually do 1 hour 15, 1 hour or an hour and a half on the show. It depends the conversation and everything. But
okay.
yeah, let's go for, because the audience today, we are many of us. But the audience is really silent today. So if anyone actually want to share something or have a question, yeah, please unmute yourself.
Well, Omar, it's been beautiful with everyone that's here. It's not like I'm really appreciate that where people's questions were coming from, that the sense of their, from what they're knowing and their respect, that we really looked at some really valuable levels of understanding, that we got to, kind of deep levels of understanding.
Absolutely.
But yeah, really, anybody else with a question or something that's puzzling you, or anything you've seen that's been helpful?
I'm just thinking, I'm very grateful that it's such a little group, because else I'm not sure I would have shared anything. Thank you for that.
Well,
You're
if
welcome.
it's big or small, we try our best to make it where everyone is comfortable to, to ask and, contribute.
I know.
But thank you, Karen. I have a question, Mark, if that's all right. I'm a
Sure.
participant today. But I really would love your take on, I think it will help to shed the light on, what's happening in the world right now, and the tension and, the wars and, the genocide here and what's happening in Ukraine. And, I know that the more we share this understanding to people, the more, we raise the consciousness of Earth and people, and the less wars and the less conflicts we'll have. And that's what I see, like, or visualize the world to be in the future. But what do you, yeah, what like, how do you see all of this, Mark? Like, what's your take on it? Because, I know a lot of people has been, stressed out about what's happening, since October, the last thing. And like in the 3P community, we don't talk much about that. And I did a show, I know the only person that could do this with me, Harry Derbitsky, and we did a show on finding inner peace in time of conflict and crisis. And we invited, he's Jewish and I'm Muslim, and we had this conversation. So it was kind of, to promote peace and to really make people see the unity of it all. That it's not about, where you come from, or where I'm come from, or what do you believe in, or where you were brought up, and to really share the unity. And then actually, Tawheed is an Arabic word for, the oneness.
Oneness, yeah.
Or it's a religious term as well, which means like, like there's one God. There is one, one divine mind. It's one consciousness or universe, or whatever you want to call it. Like there's the one truth, basically, the ultimate truth. And so, yeah, maybe something like really brief and about appreciate your your take on that, and like how you see it and your wisdom on it.
Well, a couple of things. It's really interesting because I just got a note about at the 3P UK conference, they're giving me a plenary session at the start of the day on Tuesday. And I was I just got it and I was reflecting on it today, and what would help, and I was thinking about, what just came to me is how the simple truth of the principles can cure the ills of the world. How living in love and understanding would bring peace into the world. What's promising for me is that this understanding is now worldwide. It's in every country. That's only going to grow. And it's only through this understanding that, human conflict will come to an end. Because people are living at a very, very tormented, troubled level of consciousness that leads to, conflicts. So I'm really hopeful that this understanding will continue to grow in all of our countries in the world. I think the understanding personally that keeps bringing me back to just staying in kind of a understanding or peace about it is that, look, every living creature is mind. Every living being is mind. We're no different. Now, when we come into the world, that energy forms into this physical form that looks different, but we are still the same spiritual energy. We're no different. The people fighting against each other are fighting against themselves. That's who they are, mind. They just don't know. So they have thought and consciousness then to go about their lives using thought their way. And so when you get into who's right, that could lead to a number of conflicts, as it has. I don't know. Maybe since the beginning of, I don't know, religion or something. Who's got the right religion? There have been conflicts about that for generations, decades, millennia. But my understanding is, look, we have to see that all of us are the same. And our actions are really telling us the quality of thinking on that person's mind. And if people are harming other people, their quality of thinking, they're in a tormented world. They're in a righteous world. They're in a world of taking offense. They're in a world of how wrong the other people are. They're in a world that they're better than others. They're in a world that they're separate from everybody else. And that's the understanding that helps me. And the only way that can be affected is if that person's level of consciousness changed. That's the only thing that will really help the world. And that's why I'm hopeful that as more and more people share this understanding in their country through small groups, through trainings, through schools, the level of consciousness will rise. And that's what will change things. In other words, people come to an understanding that they just thought they were different than the other person, that they are not, that they are the same energy of love and understanding. So that soothes me when I get troubled by what's happening. I come back to the innocence of the level of consciousness in the world right now. We can't do anything about that. I mean, you can't even control your own level of consciousness. You know, like I'm happy and I'm having a great day and I'm saying, oh, I never want to leave this. I don't ever want to never be happy. Oh, I'm here again. Okay, now I want to keep this. I want to hold on to this. And then, you know, in the evening, I got bothered. I'm bothered by my wife. You know, what happened? Well, my level of consciousness changed. So we can't even keep our own level of consciousness. That's important to see. That all that's happened, if you've dropped, is you just had a drop in your level of consciousness. You got disturbed by something. That's all that's happened. So it's not about trying to go and force the world into a higher level of consciousness. It's about continuing to live with your level. It's continuing to create whatever comes to you to create to help humanity, to serve humanity your way. Because that voice will touch people, and then that being touched will wake up that person. So that's how I see it. And you never want to forget you're the same. We are all the same energy. A quick story. I know we're going long, but just a quick story. I don't know if you know of Chip Chipman in Salt Spring Island, but Chip and his wife Jan were talking with Sid one day because they had just traveled from the east coast of Canada all the way to the west coast back home to Salt Spring Island. And Chip was telling Sid, you know, we camped every night and we met these wonderful people. And, you know, Sid, every person we met along the way, we just fell in love with. And Sid turned to Chip and said, well, you know that when you were with that person, you saw yourself. You are the same energy in a different form. And I still reflect on the power of that, you see. We are the same. So you kind of look to the horror that goes on. The best you can do is try to help stay with this understanding that people are just in a really troubled, tormented, painful state of mind where they think they're wrong, other people are wrong, and the only right way is my way. So I hope that helped. And I know it was a long answer.
Yeah, that was perfect. That was you know, perfect. Thank you, Mark. It's been a pleasure to, you know, to have you with me and with all of us, really. It's been really insightful, and yeah, I kind of feel, you know, the impacts already of your sharing today. So thank you, and thanks to anyone who contributed, asked a question, or, you know, all participants who joined us today. And thank you again, Mark, for accepting my invitation and coming and sharing so beautifully and from the heart. I think it spoke to everyone's soul in here. Thank
Well,
you.
thank you, Omar. I felt so blessed to receive your invitation, and I just felt just the deep respect of the group of people here today, and really the heartfelt feelings of those that shared. So thank you for the opportunity to be with you, and you're listening. I
Thank
could
you,
feel
Mark.
that.
Thank you. It's been
Thank you very much.
lovely.
Thank you, Mark. Thanks, Omar.
Thank
Thanks
you,
for
Mark.
sharing, Karen.
Okay. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.